Hello, my name is Andy Sparks, and this is my conference paper for the World War II Studies class, World War II Today. The paper is entitled Estonian Collective Memory of a Double Genocide and its Minimization of the Holocaust. For my thesis, I wanted to connect the so-called double genocide experienced by Estonians during World War II with their attempt to minimize their collaboration with the Nazis. Thus, my thesis is Estonia's post-Soviet collective memory of World War II averts responsibility of collaboration with the Nazi implementation of the Holocaust through adoption of a double genocide framework that is reflected through its educational policy, remembrance policy, and transnational justice. By doing so, Estonia risks straining its relations with Western institutions, which look upon Holocaust education and remembrance as a benchmark for human rights and democratic values. The double genocide attempts to equate the Holocaust with the murderous oppression of Estonians by the Soviet Union. Estonia gained its independence in the wake of the Russian Revolution and the end of World War I. This independence was short-lived when, in August 1939, the Soviet Union and Nazi Germany signed the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, which eventually saw the Soviet Union installing a communist government in Estonia and instigated arrests, deportations, and executions of many Estonian nationalists. This oppression lasted for about a year before Nazi Germany launched Operation Barbarossa on June 22, 1941, against the Soviet Union. With the occupation of Estonia, many Estonians welcomed the Germans as liberators and collaborated with the occupation government and its institution of the Holocaust against Estonia's Jewish population. Finally, as the tide of the war turned in favor of the Allies, the Soviet Red Army retook Estonia and reincorporated it into the Soviet Union. For several years afterwards, Estonian nationalists again were arrested, deported, and executed in large numbers. Because of this treatment at the hands of the Soviets, Estonian collective memory of World War II is one of a double genocide, and in fact remembers the oppression of the Soviets as more brutal than the Jewish Holocaust, at least within its own borders. According to histories on the topic, over 46,000 Estonians were killed, deported, or imprisoned by the Soviet Union, while Nazi Germany was responsible for only 8,500 murders of Jews within the borders of Estonia, most of those Jews being brought in from outside of Estonia. By the time of the German occupation, there were less than 1,000 Jews living within Estonia. Furthermore, many Estonians viewed the Germans as liberators and looked upon Jews as part of the Judeo-Bolshevik conspiracy within communist Soviet Union. After suffering for decades under communist rule, Estonia became independent again with the dissolution of the Soviet Union in the early 1990s. However, since the Russian Federation was still a powerful neighbor, Estonia began looking for militaristic as well as economic assistance from its European neighbors. To achieve these goals, Estonia sought to join the European Union for economic benefit and the North Atlantic Treaty Organization for security purposes. However, these organizations urged new candidate states to adopt certain policies. Three of these were: 1. Select a Holocaust Remembrance Day and implement it. 2. Adopt a Holocaust curriculum for their school systems. And 3. Assist in bringing Nazi collaborators to justice. While Estonia set about complying with the recommendations, it also looked for a way to minimize their impact on its collective memory of World War II. One way Estonia was able to minimize the impact was to select a Holocaust Remembrance Day that did not interfere with the double genocide theory. The Jewish human rights organization Simon Wiesenthal Center had recommended that Estonia choose one of the following for its Remembrance Day: July 20th, which was the day of the Wannsee Conference, in which Estonia was declared Judenrein, or freed of Jews, or August 7th, the day that the 36th Estonian Security Battalion participated in the murder of thousands of Jews in the Novogrudok ghetto of Belarus. neither of these recommendations would be chosen. Instead, Estonia chose the safe date of January 7th, the day in 1945 in which the Auschwitz concentration camp in German annexed Poland was liberated by the Soviet Union. The reason it was considered a safe date is because no Estonians or Estonian Jews were ever sent there. Furthermore, the announcement date of the choice for Holocaust Remembrance Day came on an inauspicious date, on August 6th, which was the anniversary of the Soviet annexation of Estonia. So the actual remembrance date disassociates Estonia from the Holocaust, and the date of the announcement signaled that the government of Estonia felt the topic itself was unimportant. Another way Estonia was urged to face its World War II complicity was to implement a Holocaust educational curriculum. It is evident that Estonia needed this program since many of its people did not see the importance of studying the Holocaust. In fact, prior to adoption, the Estonian Minister of Education, Toonas Lukas, did not believe Estonia needed a Holocaust curriculum. However, due to international pressure, Estonia adopted one because, as one commenter suggested, Holocaust Day is the entry ticket to NATO. Once again, despite the need to show Europe that it was worthy of membership into its organizations, Estonia was able to minimize the impact of the adoption of an educational curriculum of the Holocaust. Since there was not enforcement of the requirement, Estonia provided the curriculum but gave individual school districts and schools the option of implementing the programs. One school director even claimed that the Holocaust is not the kind of event that the Estonian nation should commemorate. Russia's violence against the Estonian nation, with all of their deportation and repression, was much more crazy. It is easy to see that if school leaders are not convinced or forced to provide Holocaust education to their own students, then the efficacy and value of these suggestions are meaningless. Finally, as a means to facing its history, Estonia was urged to assist in bringing former collaborators of the Holocaust to justice. Even though Estonia had fewer Jews living in its country, and thus fewer Jews were killed there during the Holocaust, there were still many instances of collaboration. Efren Zirov, who was a member of the Simon Wiesenthal Center, traveled to Estonia to try and get information regarding Estonian collaborator Harry Manil. He was a member of the Omakaatsi, a paramilitary organization that was used by the Nazis for security purposes. The OK, as it was called, was used by the Nazis to round up and interrogate suspicious persons, such as Jews. Manil was accused of arresting and questioning Jews that were executed. However, during Zirov's investigation, he was stonewalled wherever he went in Estonia. A local newspaper who interviewed Zirov ran a story with a headline, "Nazi Hunter Accuses Estonian Nation of Murderers." This showed that many in Estonia equated his presence as an affront to the nation rather than as an attempt at justice for Nazi collaboration. Further examples of anti-Semitism were found in comment sections of daily newspaper articles, ones such as, "Thank you, Ephraim, for having taught us to hate Jews," and "Zyklon B would be a good solution for getting rid of Zirov." As a result of the disinterest in pursuing prosecution of Estonian collaborators, very few have been convicted since Estonian independence in 1991. Further, there has been backlash against what is seen as foreign intrusion on Estonia's history and memory. Thus, countries like Estonia have been resistant to facing the collaborative history with the Holocaust. The double genocide supplants the Holocaust as a collective memory of suffering. This is reflected through Estonia's implementation of policies such as a Holocaust Remembrance Day, the adoption of a Holocaust curriculum, and its unwillingness to assist in bringing collaborators to justice. To impact Estonia's collective memory of the Holocaust as a human rights issue, enforcement clauses may be required. Without enforcement measures or some other requirement for European nations to take seriously the Holocaust as a unique case of racial hatred and violence, requiring a call to action against human rights violations, its importance may eventually fade from history.